Good morning. How are you? I got two films to talk about today. One of them is a Netflix film. And the reason why I'm talking about it is because we had our first big typhoon of the year this past week. And when that happens, the whole place shuts down. So, in olden days, like a few years ago, um, there was really nothing to do here. Now we have options and like live streaming, like not live stream, but streaming services. So a few years ago, I started a thing called Movies to Watch on Typhoon Days, but these are actually movies you can watch anytime because they're that good and you've probably never heard of them. And so that's what I'm going to talk about first with the film High Flying Bird, which I said it's a Netflix film. Um, and High Flying Bird is the story of sports agent Ray Burke, who's played by Andre Holland. I love Andre Holland. He was in Moonlight. He was if you've seen Moonlight, he was in the final chapter of the movie where he is the grown up friend. And he was in Selma. Who did he play? I think he played Andrew Young in Selma, and he was in TV's The Nick. That's how I know him, from TV's The Nick. If you haven't seen TV's The Nick, it was a Steven Spielberg production and starred Clive Owen. Great series. Only 2 years, unfortunately, because I think they painted themselves in a corner, couldn't get out of it, so they ended it after 2 years. Um, okay, better that they ended on high than beating a dead horse. But it was a great show. So Andre Holland is back with Steven Soderbergh. What did I say? Did I say Steven Soderbergh or Steven Spielberg? Well, this Steven Soderbergh directed The Nick, and he's directed this film too. And it's a story written by what's his name? Terrell Alvin McCraney, who wrote the screenplay for Moonlight. So, everything, these are people who've worked together and they all know each other. So the story is sports agent Ray Burke. He's got plenty to deal with on his plate as the film opens, and because pro basketball is in its 25th week of a lockout, and owners don't seem to be in any hurry to come to an agreement on TV revenue sharing with the players. And Ray's client, rookie player Eric Scott, played by Melvin Gregg, he also happens to be the league's top draft pick. He hasn't been paid yet, and that means Ray hasn't been paid either. And that doesn't go down. That hasn't gone down well with Ray's boss, who's named by the name of David Starr, who's played by Zachary Quinto, who is the latest iteration of Spock, Mr. Spock on the Star Trek movies. I don't know if that's a whole other thing where Quentin Tarantino wants to do a Star Trek film. Anyhow, and so Ray is faced with pressure from all sides, and he decides it's time to not only disrupt the game, but disrupt the game that's being played on top of the game. And to do that, he pulls in a few people to help him. Some know that he's helping, some know what they're doing, and most don't know what they're doing, and in terms of helping him, and including his very able ex-assistant Sam, played by Zazie Beetz, who was in Deadpool 2. She stole Deadpool 2, in my opinion, and apparently she's going to be in Joker. I wonder if no, well, because that's a different franchise. That's Marvel. This is DC. So I don't know who she's playing in Joker. And Players Association rep Myra, played by Sonia Sohn. She looks so familiar. I can't figure out where I've seen her before because I checked out her resume and I thought I've never seen any movie that she's in, but I've seen her before. I don't know. Owners rep David Seaton, played by Kyle MacLachlan, always wonderful, from Twin Peaks, and community basketball coach and old friend Spencer Jones, played by Bill Duke. Now, all these guys, so these are people he knows, people he's worked with, he's worked opposite, worked against, and he's roping them in, and most of them don't know that he's roping them in. Now, like Ray is doing to the sports industry, Soderbergh is the disruptor of the film industry. His 1989 breakthrough film, Sex, Lies, and Videotape, it spawned a whole generation of independent filmmakers, and that indie spirit has continued on up to today, when last year he became the first major filmmaker. I don't want to say he became the first filmmaker, because clearly he wasn't, but he was the first major filmmaker to shoot a film on a smartphone, and that film was called Unsane, starring Claire Foy. Wasn't a great film, but I appreciated the what he did with it. So High Flying Bird is also shot on a smartphone. This time it's an iPhone 8 equipped with an anamorphic lens to give it this cinema effect. And the result gives the audience this fly on the wall feeling as backroom deals are being discussed throughout the film. My only complaint to this smartphone approach is that the lighting can be a bit problematic at times. Look, I have a problem here with lighting. And look, I'm not about to start tricking out my office to look like a studio. But there were a couple times in the film that I thought we were a little bit underlit. So I thought, okay, you know what? I appreciate what he's done using the smartphone and how he does it. And there's some really, because you're holding this thing, or it's got it on a dolly, and he's able to get in very close. That's great, but sometimes the lighting gets a bit screwed up. So all right, can't win them all. So as I said, this story was turned into a screenplay by Terrell Alvin McCraney. It's based on an idea by Andre Holland. And so he went to Terrell Alvin McCraney and said, here, why don't you write a screenplay for me? And then I assume, because he's a producer, I assumed he then went to Steven Soderbergh and said, I want you to direct. Now, the film is very verbose, and it's got these wonderful monologues, mostly delivered by Holland, who savors every delicious word. But the language is so dense with imagery, you may find yourself watching the movie twice so that you can take it all in. I know I watched it twice. I watched it the first time a couple months ago, and then I watched it again I watched it on the Typhoon Day. and it's good because you miss a lot. There's so much, not action but words, and every word means something. There's meaning behind every speech that he gives. There's meaning there, and you miss it all. So I thought it was worth watching a second time, and even I enjoyed it as much the second time as I did the first. There's a key reveal in the final scene. I'm not going to reveal, but there's a key reveal in the final scene that I know for me, as I was watching it, I said, okay, there's something to this that I'm not getting. I'm getting it on a certain level, but there's obviously a different level here. I'm not getting it. So when the film ended, I went to Google and I typed a few words into the search engine, and then I got it. I understood what McCraney was trying to say here. So if you're ignorant like me, you're going to find out. You're going to have to go to Google and figure it out. Otherwise, you just take it for as it is. It's not going to detract, even if you don't know what the real intent is. It's not going to ruin it for you, but it'll give you, when you do know what it is, you're going to go, like it's one of those things. So what you're going to find is that this movie is about disruption in more ways than you'll realize. So you have a character who's disrupting an industry, you have a director who's disrupting an industry, and something more. So really well written, well thought out. Oh, look, he writes beautiful screenplays. What can I tell you? So the film High Flying Bird, it's available right now on Netflix, even in Hong Kong. I was talking to my friend James last night about this because he hasn't seen it yet, but I told him he should watch it. Netflix, they're I don't understand how they market their films, how they promote their films. This, it's a shame that it's not being shown in the cinema. I think maybe to qualify for awards, maybe it did have a limited run in New York or LA or whatever. I don't know. It came out in February, I think. So I don't know if it had a cinematic release so that it could qualify for awards, but it's a shame because this is a really good film and nobody knows about it. And so I highly, highly recommend it. High Flying Bird, great acting, excellent screenplay, and great director. What more can you ask for? Good lighting. High Flying Bird, check it out, Netflix. All right, even in Hong Kong, Netflix. The other film I'm going to talk about is a Korean film that opened, today's Friday, so it opened yesterday in Hong Kong, called The Odd Family, Zombie on Sale. I won't tell you how to say that in Korean because I have no clue. So this is a zomcom. You have rom-coms. This is a zomcom, a zombie comedy. And look, I hate zombie films. I hate the zombie genre. I never watched I watched the very first episode of The Walking Dead, and I said, this is not for me. I do not like this genre of film or story at all. And to be honest, I'm not a huge fan of South Korean film, South Korean cinema. So I was going into this going, oh, I'm just going to hate this film. I'm really going to hate this film. I know it. But I was surprised. So this is a very quirky zombie comedy, a zomcom, as I said. And if you're like me and you're hoping that there won't be any more zombie films being made, although I think there is an American one coming, a Zombieland. I have to figure. It's called Zombieland. What's it called? Tap 2 or something like that. I don't know what it's called. Um, it's coming out in a couple weeks. I don't know anything about it, but maybe it is a zombie comedy as well. But this film, it doesn't reinvent the wheel. You know, you're not going to say, wow, I've never seen anything like this before. But it is very enjoyable, I gotta say. I was really, really surprised. So the film starts off, we learn very quickly, like in the first 30 seconds, that a biotech company has been working on a new type of insulin but they've engaged in some shady, some dodgy R&D, and it has resulted in a virus being unleashed on the Korean population. And that virus, it turns out, creates zombies out of diabetics. And when one of these newly created Walking Dead shows up in the quiet country village of Pungsan, I looked it up, there's no such place as Pungsan, no one seems to take much notice of him. And that is until he takes a nip out of the head of villager Park Man-duk, played by Park In-hwan. And Park runs the town's gas station, only gas station, and repair shop, along with his 3 adult children, Jungul, Mingul, Haegul, and Jungul's heavily pregnant, no-nonsense wife, Namju. They're all adults. The daughter is supposedly a teenager. The others are adults. Now, the family, I gotta drink something. This is what happens when you do this early in the morning. I need to sing in the shower. The family is a complete bunch of grifters. You know, if you sort of make the Trump family into Koreans, this is it. No, the Trump family is not this family, I gotta say. These are nice people. These are nice people who do bad things. Okay, so the family is a complete bunch of grifters. They scam everybody and anyone at every opportunity. You know, it's quite funny to watch. Now, Mingul, who I'm not sure. I guess he's the oldest. Couldn't tell who was older, whether Mingul or Jungul was older, but you know, okay, whatever. So Mingul, either the first son or the second son, he's just returned from Seoul after being fired from his job. And you know, after seeing this family in operation, you can sort of imagine why he got fired. And he's the first to realize, after the father got bitten, that they have a zombie in their midst. And he hastily prepares a survival manual, which the family immediately dismisses. When Man-duk, the father, he wakes up the next morning looking younger and fitter than he has in decades. So naturally, Mingul, Jungul, and Father Man-duk they see an opportunity where they can cash in on this fountain of youth. And they create a cottage industry where their cabbage and ketchup-loving pet zombie, who's now named Jongbi by the daughter, Haegul, he bites the arms of old men in the village, and these men are more than willing to part with a hefty sum of money in exchange for a moment of pain and a new lease on life. So, you know, they're turning over huge sums of money to the Park family. They get bitten on the arm, and the next day they wake up 20 years younger. Now, of course, all good things must come to an end at some point, and they do so here with hilarious consequences. So that's the story. Now, as I said, I was going into this film thinking I'm not going to enjoy this, and I was wrong. I really enjoyed it. The plot is completely bonkers. You know, okay, fine. You know, you expect this plot to be bonkers, and it does borrow from some other films in the genre. You know, if you've seen some of the other zomcoms like Shaun of the Dead, a few other, even some films, zombie films that aren't comedies. So it does borrow from that. So it's not horribly original, you know, in parts, but I think this is a really well-written story by director Lee Min-jae. I think this might be his first feature film. I haven't found him to on anything else. And this film's got plenty of amusing twists and turns along the way. Very, very surprising. A lot of surprises, but they all made sense, and they were all very, very funny. So I thought, good for him. Okay, you know what? He's bored. He takes an idea from here, an idea from there, and he incorporates into his own. All right, fine. I can live with that. What I really loved is that the Park family, they're such lovable reprobates that you want them to succeed, even when you know that you shouldn't. They're not, I don't want to say they're nasty, because they're not nasty people. They're amoral people, but they're really lovable. They're really lovable, amoral people. Now, a couple of the film's set pieces are deliciously way over the top. I can't resist because of the delicious comment. And it culminates in a fireworks sequence that wouldn't seem too out of place in a certain Michael Jackson video, and you can figure out which one that is. So the film, The Odd Family, Zombie on Sale, so far only been released commercially in a few markets in this part of the world. I think it's been of course, in South Korea was released. It's been to Vietnam. I think it's been to Taiwan. Opened here yesterday. I think it's opening in Singapore next week. So it's slowly making its way. It's played in a few Asian film festivals and genre film festivals around the world as well. So if you have a chance to see it, certainly in Hong Kong, we got so much, not just typhoons, but we've got a lot of political turmoil going on here. If you need a break from all that for a couple of hours, this is a great choice. Highly, highly recommended. And for the rest of you outside of Asia who don't have a chance to see this yet, wait for it, remember it, go see it. You're going to enjoy it. The Odd Family, Zombie on Sale. It's not it's not like a 5-star film, but it's a 4-star film, and I approve. So that's it for today. Next week, I know I'm doing the Current War because I saw it last night. I don't know what else I'm doing. I might do another Netflix film. I'll see, because I don't know what else there is next week. So that's it. Have a great day, a great night, a great weekend. See you next week.